You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know that safety at the expense of liberty is slavery. We have an exciting show for you. Welcome, Craig from Area 419. Craig, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
If you will, Craig, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do for Area 419, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my name's Craig. I've been with Area 419 since 2016. That was a long story of me reaching out to a guy I tried to buy things from. Website wasn't working at the time. That's a period where I build area419.com. I trade John a rifle for it. We're still using the website. I've still got the rifle, and now we've got 30 people. I'm here in the shop. Behind me, you've got two of the machine centers that are making scope mount parts, so this is a good place for us to be, and we'll see machine movement behind us. There's 30 people that work here. We ship parts all over the world every day. We're very fortunate to have a dealer network that extends to around 250 dealers globally, including you guys at Paramount. And we get to make cool stuff all day, every day. It's like waking up and coming to the shop and getting to be Willy Wonka, minus the short orange people. We don't have nearly as many of those as he does. Anyway, my role at Area 419, I'm our VP of Sales and Marketing. I effectively manage the commercial part of the business, or things that happen outside these walls. So there's John and Justin and I are the three individuals that kind of all of the business stem from. We have a cycle where there's a product idea. It comes from somewhere. It can come from someone on the outside. It can come out of John's head, my head, anybody that's around here. John's job is to take that product, among many things. We all wear many hats, but at its core, to take that idea and turn it into article number one. Go through the design process, figure out how we're going to machine it, how we want everything to work together. Ultimately, when a product hits the machine, it's because John finally said, done, let's go. John makes article number one. Justin's job is to turn one into many. He's our VP of operations and runs production, runs planning. Justin is the guy that keeps trains running on time. John and I are not terrifically organized or focused guys at times. There's a little bit of chasing shiny objects, which is what makes us who we are. Justin is the just bank vault solid, get it done individual in the building. And then once John has made one, Justin has made many, I make them go away. So I manage our web presence, our marketing team, customer service team, and I'm speaking as one person representing many. But holy cow, we're fortunate to have the team that we do here all the way from top to bottom. We've got roughly the shop divided into thirds between the guys on the machine floor and ladies. Nancy, who you might see walk by, is a lady on the machine floor. The team in the assembly room, and then the team in the office. But John makes number one, Justin makes many, I make them go away. And it's basically been that, even though our ranks and our team have grown over time. So yeah.
One thing I thought was really cool is I actually got to meet Zach at the Major League Sniper Cup. And
absolutely.
What was cool was he actually had, I don't even remember what it was, but he was showing us a couple of different items that he had attached to his guns that were basically 419 Skunk Works items.
Yeah.
That he was trying out and testing out in real time, stuff that you guys, I don't even know if you'll end up making those items or whatever else, but it was cool to see that you guys were getting out there and testing those things out in real world conditions. So that was really cool insight to see from that.
We do that a lot. And there are items that if somebody walks into our vault, and we've got a vault tour on YouTube, if anybody wants to see what that looks like, but there's rifles everywhere and they're all kitted out. And as a rule, half the stuff on the wall is just stuff that got pulled off the shelf. Another chunk of the stuff is blims or things that weren't made right, but we don't care. And then there's also, like you saw, there's a pile of stuff that never makes it in the market. Now, most things that we end up making versions that could go to a match, most of those end up in market. So if you're talking about like a tripod head that Zach might have had at that match, that might have been revision 3, and we don't produce the part until we get to revision 10 or 11 or 12 because it's got to be exactly right. Sometimes you get lucky and your first pass ends up with a part that's really good. But we've got parts floating around this shop and around the world, to be quite honest, that span from tripod parts to parts that would go on a carbine, things that are reloading focused that aren't out yet, or maybe a revision of a current product, or might be something new. We know that if we're not making and marketing and finding ways to solve new problems, we become stale. And when we become stale, we die.
I think it's I've been watching you guys from afar for many years, probably going back at least to 2016, 2017, something like that is when I started definitely seeing Area 419 gear show up at our courses, being talked about in forums and things like that. And man, you guys have freaking just, from a marketing standpoint, I think there's a whole case study in what you guys have done. And I'm sure you have to take a lot of credit for that. And it's been amazing to see how fast you guys have grown. I know at least you guys have moved into bigger shops at least twice that I'm aware of, and coming out with new products all the time. What do you think was like, what's been your personal strategy behind marketing Area 419 as effectively as you guys have?
20 years ago, marketing was a game of buying advertising and making sure that you had buzzy headlines and slick photography. What marketing is today in 2024, when everything is so integrated, is how are you taking the essence of your brand, whatever that is. And for us, it's product. We make great products. They are sexy. They solve problems. How do we take those products, first of all, and they all have to be exceptional. Nothing should leave the building that's not exceptional. How do we take those and bring them to life? What's special about them? Why are they different? Why do they matter? And a brand telling the story of whatever it is that's your essence, and doing it well and doing it at a high level and doing it frequently. Marketing is not advertising like it used to be. It's how does your brand exist in the market? And there are many good brands that have great products that never become successful because they can't tell the story. And marketing is not, it's also how we produce. It's the fact that we're pretty good at keeping things on shelves. We're not perfect. We sell out of things, but we work really hard and invest heavily in our brand being one that's accessible and available. Marketing today is so much more integrated, or it should be if you want to do it. It's so much more integrated than it ever really has been. People could see it. They could see the authenticity. Shoot, 20 years ago, the idea that we're sitting here having this podcast, and there are 1,000 other podcasts going up tonight of some sort. So when somebody cares about a product, that they can get as deep and in the weeds about it as they want, that they have access to the people that are making the parts or selling the parts, or the ideas or the classes or whatever it is, that people can connect with a product and a brand so directly today it's amazing. And the only way to be a good brand is to decide exactly who you are, relentlessly execute on it all the way up and down.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things in a lot of whether it's the marketing videos, some of the demo videos that you guys do, you're front and center in all those videos. And I think that's really cool and really important. This is one of the things I've talked to recently with a couple different companies that we work with, whether it be scope manufacturers. I'm like, look, man, you guys got to get out there and make yourself accessible to the consumers, because it's definitely one of those things in the optics community for sure, where you definitely don't see executives out there talking to people. You don't see the actual engineers out there talking to people. And I think that's one of the things that companies, especially these legacy companies, large companies like Zeiss, Night Force, these companies that have been around for a long time that are living on their successes of the past, like, they got to get out there, make themselves accessible, educate the consumer, and do things like this. And I think that's one thing that you guys have done obviously very well and have understood the importance of that. And I think there's definitely some companies out there that are still great, but they're playing catch up to these smaller, newer companies that are just hungry and out there kicking ass and taking names because of getting out in front of people and talking to them.
I talk about relentless execution. The idea is, if I don't care deeply about this brand and I can't convey that, and that passion and that energy and the significance of the brand, if it's not apparent through me, why the hell should you care about it?
Sure.
And relentlessly and at every level of the business, what is your brand promise and how are you executing it? That's marketing today. And damn it, if you don't love your brand, go do something else, especially if you're in my role, especially if you're in my seat. You can occasionally have an engineer that doesn't care, because if you're in QC, you need to deeply understand the product. You don't have to love it. But if you're touching customers, if you're building the product and designing the product, people can tell if you care. People can tell if the engineers care. They can tell if thought was really put into something, or if you cut a corner, or if you missed something. And I think it's important that you develop deep subject matter expertise in whatever it is that you're marketing or selling. More important than that is that you're able to, and you're willing to, and you're committed to developing a deep love for whatever it is that you're doing on any given day.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we do, and I think that's been the key to our success. A lot of that is, number one, we don't sell anything that we don't actually use. There's lots of products out there that we've been approached with. We could be selling that the margins are significantly higher, the price is cheaper, they sell fast because they hit that that niche of, hey, it's a high profit margin, so it's easily marketed, but it's also a cheaper product.
It's good enough, but a lower price point.
100%.
Yeah.
And like, that's not what we're about. We don't sell anything that we haven't used, that we haven't tested, that we can't sit there and talk to in front of a customer. I know a lot of people out there, they know us as like this YouTube channel, and that's how they've come to know us. And that's great. And that's the whole point of the channel, is to do our own marketing in that sense. But what a lot of YouTubers, and we constantly get approached with, is like, hey, we want you to advertise this for us, do a video on it for us, and then we'll give you an affiliate link, and then you'll just make all this money. You don't have to do anything with it. And I think that is such an irresponsible approach, because you have no idea. Number one, was that a cherry pick product that I got? That even if you have some integrity, because there's a lot of people that don't, and it is what it is. But even if you have integrity, is this a cherry pick product or version of that product? And now I'm just sending you off to this affiliate link. I have no idea what the customer service is like. I have no idea what the customer experience is like. I have no idea what the longevity. There's companies that we've been dealers for where the quality started falling off. We started having customer service issues. And it's like, man, that's not us. Yeah, that's not us. No, I think you're absolutely right. You got to be involved as much as possible and know the products. And really, that's like when we shoot a video, whether it's scope mounts or whatever it is, I want people to feel like they are a subject matter expert on that product. Yeah. Because that's what most of the things that keep people from buying things is I don't know how to use this. I'm not sure about it. It's the uncertainty. Like when you watch one of our videos, and honestly, the level of detail and stuff that you guys put in some of your marketing videos, same thing. It's, oh, okay, I understand that product. I can get that product in. It's going to work the way that I want it to, and I've got it figured out. It's as simple as that. And it works. And like I said, it's really cool to see you as the VP to be out there actually doing those things, because you could have your minions out there doing whatever, but see you out there actually hooking scopes up to
yeah. That's the coolest stuff ever. At the end of the day, there's nothing that I can be doing that is more valuable than being an embodiment of the brand. The real embodiment of the brand, obviously, is ultimately the product. But when I have the opportunity to do it as a living, breathing person, absolutely, I'm going to do it. I love doing the video stuff. We have other people that's in on it as well, but my background is in creative messaging. I work politically, and in politics, your product is just your candidate. And just like products, maybe they're not all perfect, but your job is to sell the product as well as you can. I then worked in advertising in the marketing agency world. I did that for a handful of years. I had clients in agriculture, in higher education, in telecom, in all sorts of spaces there. But ultimately, what you really find out when you get into how you market a product is what's it made of. We were live for several hours today with the stream we did. It's the opening day of Black Friday for us. Consumers are relentless, and we love it. We sell premium products. And like you talked about in your review of the rings and the mounts, which was incredibly thorough, and kudos on that. So we could probably charge another $50. But I was told by a guy early in my career, look, buddy, first of all, you got to make money. This is not a charity. If you make products and people start to depend on one, or if you have a service that people depend on, make money so that when they really need you, you're still in business. But when you get done with a deal, you and the person that gave you money should both feel like that was a good deal. I probably could have done a little better, but that was a good deal. And when we get into pricing products, and I'm sure somebody in the chat's going to say, well, this is ridiculous, charge way too much. And if you think that, fine, go make the same post on a Porsche stream or a Ferrari stream, whatever. But as you called out with the mounts, we could charge another $50. We could push a little harder on some other things, but we really want people to have these in their hand. We want them to use them. We take a lot of pride in the idea that people are, when they make their order today, as we start this Black Friday sale, and our shipping team is going to do outrageous things over the next handful of business days. A person's going to get their tracking number, and they're going to be excited for it, waiting on it to come in. And they're going to open the box, and they're going to love it and think, I wonder if I can put the empty box under the tree in the wrapper and then unwrap it, and nobody realized I stole it. People feel that way about our product. Yeah. And we feel that deeply because we talk to, especially, this is something I talk to our assembly team about quite a bit. You're the last person that touches a product that's going to go in a box, and a person is going to be excited to open, and they're going to smile when they open it. You get an Amazon package like every single day, and you don't know if you're cutting it open and it's toilet paper or it's one of your kids' electronics. You don't know what that junk is. when you cut that Area 419 tape, you know exactly what's in the box, and you know how many days it took to get there, and that guy at the UPS hub in the town near you probably could have been a little bit quicker. That's something that we sell to people every day, and we have to make good on that promise because shit, customers let you know, man, you miss that excitement turns into a spicy customer, and we love that, and it's important to us. But the customer at that level is huge.
And in the day of Amazon, the customer expectation as far as shipping and all those things, sometimes I guess as a small business, it gets a little overwhelming because that is one thing that we're constantly working to improve. We've hired some people. We've fired some people.
I totally revamped our whole shipping system last week, much to my consternation, but hopefully it creates future improvements.
Yeah. And people don't understand the challenges for any business, and especially one as big as yours, but even for us, the shipping part, getting orders in, making sure everything's in stock, making sure everything's ready to go. It's a challenge, and it's something I know that we're going to continue to improve on. And we appreciate everybody's support and love out there. And again, so Craig, what are some of the things that you guys are doing for Black Friday?
Okay, so Black Friday for us is basically firearm parts, and they're all on sale. That's optics, optic mounts, scope rings mounts, all the accessories that go in the accoutrement that go with them, as well as muzzle devices, our brakes, our linear flash suppressor, our suppressor mounts. All of those products are on sale, as well as everything, Arc-a-Lock rails, Arc-a-Lock clamps. Those are the big categories of things that are on sale for Black Friday, and that runs through Monday, that sale. And then starting Monday morning, we'll do our Cyber Monday sale. And this is top secret. Don't share it with anybody, but we'll do all of our reloading items starting Monday. And then that runs through, I think, the 2nd through the 7th.
Nice.
Yeah. Bleep that, Jackson. I'm kidding.
I think I need to upgrade the coaxial axe back there.
Oh, Lord.
we can make that happen.
So guys, you can go ahead and start asking some questions if you want. I will get to them. I got a couple of them marked, ready to go back. This is obviously not something that Area 419 does specifically, but I'll throw this comment up there, and then Craig, I'll let you answer that. Then I got some thoughts on that as well, but go ahead.
I think that a scope that is designed to be purpose-driven in some aspect is wildly underappreciated. So I've got a few optics on the table, including one that I was part of a design meeting for years ago that finally came to market. You can't see what this is, but this will be revealed at SHOT Show what this is. Nice. And this was one that we sat down with the optic maker, and there was a handful of people, and they said, hey, we want to build the perfect optic for this. Now, knowing in optics that you've got certain levers of, if you do this, then it costs you this without doing this. Optics is a game of trying to bend physics, and you can only bend physics so far. And
real quick to clarify, now, is that an optic that you guys are getting ready to produce that we're talking about, or is that an optic that you're working on with another company?
No, this is a Collis optic that doesn't exist yet. I've known the Collis people for a long time. I was at their place in Austria in September that had some of us over. And this optic specifically, they rolled out the 328 last year at SHOT, and it's cool. If you haven't messed with it, I can send you one to play with. But the field of view in their new optic in the 328 is unlike anything I've ever seen. And we sat down with them and said, hey, if you're trying to shoot PRS, practical, tactical type matches, field of view is big. It needs to be clear edge to edge. We need to have it. All of those things matter. But we said, can you build us a huge field of view optic with a really forgiving eye box that does this and this? And they said, cool, yeah, we can. But you need to rank them. How much can it cost? How big can it be? What can it weigh? So they purpose built an optic around that 328. It's really a cool kind of universal product, large carbine or hunting rifle. You can do a lot of things with it. Or this next one that's coming is something they built that I think is, I don't know that anything is better than this optic is in the kind of large optic. So purpose building is massively important. Past that, needs to be reliable, needs to track, your clicks need to be good. You got to be able to see what you're getting into. Value for dollar, I think, is probably the big thing in today's world, though. What you can get for $1,500 or $2,500 today is unbelievable compared to what it was 5 years ago, even. Yeah, purpose building optics, like having a real, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. And whether it's optics or anything else, having a goal gets you a good product. And I look for that when people roll out new optics. What were they actually trying to accomplish, and can I tell?
Yeah, while we're on the same vein, and I'm getting ready to shoot a video on this subject, I just want to see what you think about this. When we see some of these optics that are $500, $600, $700, where do you feel like that they're, look, folks, I'll just say this in case Craig doesn't feel like saying it. Look, they're cutting corners somewhere.
Sure.
And that's where I'm getting ready to do a no shit review on some of these other optics, because I see some influencers out there, and some of which I actually like, I find entertaining, but man, they're pushing certain brands hard that I have some experience with, that I can tell you that there's some legitimate problems with. And when they're going out there and saying, hey, this is just as good as X brand or whatever else, they're not telling the whole story. When we look at those optics, what are some of the things that most people can expect that they're going to be cutting corners somewhere? So what's your
number one corner that budget products cut and optics or anything is consistency.
Yep.
Number one, and it's not close. Pick one of your $700 optic brands or whatever. The one they send you is going to be really good. And we talked about this with the cherry picking. Yep. It's going to be really nice.
Hold on. I'll tell you, there's one in particular brand that sent me an optic, and I found that it was tracking was over 10% off. And I showed that, I demonstrated it was repeatable. It was clear. It was, and just listing that, now I'm a persona non grata with that company because I was like, hey, this is what happened. Like I gave a lot of kudos, and I know that video that I did on that optic sold a lot of product for them, and that's great. And I want companies to be successful, but I don't want you to pretend like you are selling a $3,000 item when it's a $500 or $600 item, and it's a massive value for that. But and then also like long term, like getting out there in different conditions, seeing what they do in Mirage, seeing what they do when it fails at a very critical moment, and those are all things that I've experienced with that particular brand. But you're absolutely right. And when it comes to the clockworks, I always talk about turrets, like and compare turrets to like the clockworks of a watch, right? You can get a mechanical watch that's $100, or you can get a mechanical watch that's made in Switzerland, and it's whatever. You could go the sky's the limit on that.
Right.
The difference in that precise machining and tracking ability, and when you're at 36.5 mils, it's actually 36.5 mils or damn close, compared to now we got a 5, 10, 15% deficit, or if it's fat or skinny. So those are the things that, don't worry, Mike, I'm going to say the name, but I'm going to say it in the video.
Mike
Those are the
witnessed
things
that failure,
that people, he did witness that failure. And it was freaking devastating for Noah, because I put that optic on my son's gun, and he was doing really good in the course, and then went up to the culmination exercise, and all of a sudden it basically broke
failed him. He was heartbroken.
And so, look, and anything can happen with any brand of optics. Another part of that is the customer service part of it. But just understand, folks, that the idea, anyone selling the idea that you're getting a $3,000 optic for $700, okay, they're lying to you. You're not. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, and I also know, I'm sure you've done this. Have you ever taken or had somebody give you a true, like, real deal modern magnified optic that's totally taken apart?
I have not. I've seen lots of cutaways, but I haven't seen one that's completely taken apart.
So when I was at college in September, they put on the table for us a 525, which is their current flagship optic. It was totally disassembled. They were so totally disassembled, and then you had some like little sub-assembly pieces. Knowing what I do about manufacturing, and there are 30 people here, and I'm like number 35 when it comes down to really knowing the machines. But I see a lot of the manufacturing, and I study it, and I love it. The things that they're making are enormously complex.
Yep.
And when you're talking about being off by 10% on tracking, that's a really small error. And it's enough that it is some, depending on the use of the optic, it can be totally disqualifying.
Sure.
But from a pure mechanical manufacturing standpoint, that error is minuscule.
Yeah, 100%. The effects of said error could be huge. Like you said, from a mechanical standpoint, that's really easy to do in precision machining with those parts.
And when they run 1,000 optics, or whatever their number is on their run, 1,000 optics worth of that part, when you're gauging them and checking them, you may not know that you made that mistake because the mistake is so small mechanically. Though to think that they're going to put them together, spot check them, and then start throwing away parts because they made a tiny mistake, when you start getting into really budget items, that's something they fail at. We talk about consistency. Same thing happens with glass. Take any of your premium kind of S-tier optics in the market today. When people say, where's the glass from? Optic manufacturers don't really answer that question because they might have glass from 4 or 5 or 6
Yep.
glass houses that are using different foundries and different grind techniques and different coatings that are hyper specialized. That nuance and that detail that gives you that performance, that last 5% or 3% performance, what they're doing on the high end, it's a different ball game. The cheap guys are making something that is effectively the same product. But the reason that optics are so good is because really smart guys are bending physics. And if you really want to bend it to your will, you got to do really complex things. And that's the gap between your just as good and you're actually good in the optics world.
And then their standards, like you talked about, their standards are a lot higher. Those companies' standards are a lot higher. Their quality control is a lot higher. When something doesn't meet the standard, that thing is going in the trash or wherever.
Yeah.
With these companies that are selling these cheaper optics, like you're not getting those things. Like what they get in is what they get in. They're turning in all this stuff. They're taking the metal and the glass and they're turning it into an optic, and that's what you're going to get. And you might get lucky. You might get a really good one.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's also a large percentage of them that are not. And then no matter what, you're never going to get the same performance and longevity out of that optic. I don't care what it is, what's going on, that you will out of, I don't care if we're talking about Night Force, Zero Compromise, Collis, even Zeiss on their higher ends. Like what they do is pretty remarkable. And that's another thing that you're talking about, the different types of glass. We had Nick Gephardt on here a few weeks ago from Zero Compromise. Yeah. And that was one of the things that he was talking about is, and this is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand. Like they want to know, hey, is that shot glass? First of all, it could be shot glass, but you could have Japanese glass over here that actually outperforms, because there's a whole variance of shot glass. That's a company name. They make a whole different, a lot of different grades of optical glass. And then you can have Japanese glass over here. But what matters is, hey, are we making sure that whether it's from this company, from this country, or in this country, is it actually performing the way that we want it? And then, of course, the ability to machine those optics into what they want and having the QC standards ready to go. I'm not saying, because there's a lot of shooters out there. If you're just like you hunt once a year, there's a lot of shooters that are probably better off buying those budget optics. And I completely get it. And I don't.
I'm glad they're there.
But if you're wanting to do so, again, I had a conversation with a guy. He was wanting to get into ELR, and he's talking about shooting at 2600. And he actually brought up he actually watched the video, and he was telling me about the scope that he was using. And I'm like, we can talk about scope mounts all day, but buddy, if you're going to shoot at 2,600 yards, we got to upgrade the optic that you have there. That's going to be the deciding factor there. So it's curious to see. And it's fun to watch all the different things that go on there, and just making sure that we have informed buyers, I think, is really important.
I agree with that.
Let's see here. We got some other questions.
Mike's got a good question.
Mike's always got good questions. Mike Hen, how do your rings differentiate themselves from Spur?
Yeah, I saw that one in there. First of all, I really like Hawken. I know him well. We'll get together at SHOT Show and drink beer. I think that he has done amazing things for the industry. I don't have a single bad thing to say about Hawken. And realistically, we didn't decide to make mounts until we had ideas that could differentiate us. We weren't just going to make a Spur knockoff, or Ted at American Rifle Company is another good friend. We weren't just going to make a American Rifle Company knockoff or any of that. We thought that was silly, and that's not who we are. So here, I got one that's naked. The few key points that we really feel strongly about with the product that are different. One, very obviously, the way that we've handled the internal bore. We've done a lot of testing on this. We've posted it. I've got this guy with me.
That was super cool to watch.
That is cool.
And the mount's in excellent shape. I could box it up and send it to you, and you'd have no idea. So when I talk about purpose building an optic, we purpose built a mount. And you would think that everyone does that, but in a clean sheet of, if you're building the perfect mount, what does it need to do, and in what order, and how do you get it done? So how do you securely and with as low stress as possible hold the optic in a way that is absolutely, you'll never think about it again? That comes down to the raw internal surfaces that are perfectly round and bored. So on the machines behind me, and I can go grab here in a second. I wonder if we've got any.
Real quick, Craig, on that, because I'm assuming you guys did a lot of testing on this before this came to market. Did you guys see a difference? Did you test those with anodization on the inside of those as well? And did you see a difference in slip and overall surface area contact with a coating on them versus not a coating?
Yes, and for two reasons. One, Anodize is a buildup layer. So if you don't know how anodize works, you take raw aluminum and often you clean it somehow, whether it's with acid or a specialty cleaner they use, and then you dip it in a tank where the anodization grows basically onto and builds up on top of the aluminum. That creates a thickness. And anodize can vary in thickness between less than 1,000 to, on certain parts, 2 to 3,000. And you can always go to your anodizer and spec a thickness, but they might not always nail it. And when I say might not always, from one batch to another, there is inconsistency. It's how fresh are the anode tanks? Was the guy paying super close attention? Was the temperature of the room? All of these things create variance. So getting perfect thickness time after time is not realistic when it comes to anodize. So the raw internal surface was one to give us absolute final control over what the bore diameters are and to make sure they're the same every time, because the number one thing that mattered to us was perfect contact on the optic. So that's reason number one for that. Reason number two is raw aluminum is softer than anodized aluminum, really by quite a bit. Now, somebody in the chat's going to say aluminum oxide super hard. It is, but it forms as like a dust style layer and not it's a dust and not a crust. I think we can say that. So it doesn't form like a shell. With the softer aluminum, have you ever had one of those like silicone pads that you put up on the dash of your truck where you can throw your phone on it and then the phone's going nowhere? It's like it's sticky, only it's not sticky. Sure. The reason that works is that silicone is softer than what you put on it and it's very smooth. So when your phone sits on it, it compresses just a bit and creates a super strong bond with it. At a microscopic level, at a very small level, that's what's happening in here with this softer aluminum. The aluminum is very smooth. You can, on the one in front of you, the surface finish is unbelievably smooth. Mm-hmm. But if you take an anodized optic and you look really closely at anything that's anodized like this, you will see that anodized builds up with a little bit of roughness, like a super fine grit sandpaper. Mm-hmm. So with this very smooth, high contact bore, when you tighten your optic down, we're achieving some small amount of mechanical grab between the roughness that's on the outside of the choke tube and the soft, high contact surface that it's being pressed into on the optic. What we saw in ability to hold, and people don't like the test where we twist or the test where we pull with a skid steer. They're all showing you the same thing. And I understand that you can say that the absolute number that we get to isn't right. Sure, because the absolute number is irrelevant. But from a comparative standpoint, having the surface contact that we do and the nature of that surface contact, absolutely, and in every test we've ever conducted, shows an advantage of doing it this way versus any other optic mount in the market.
It makes perfect sense to me. And again, people, first of all, we always know that there's some percentage of YouTube or whatever that you're not going to make happy no matter what you do. But the fact is, I haven't seen other companies doing that testing. And I think that's interesting.
No, why would you? They think it holds.
People can criticize your testing all they want, but until we have something to compare it to, you just gotta shut the hell up. That's all.
And I really don't like product comparisons because I have a huge amount of respect for the other people. I never like saying bad things about anyone. We did the test with other mounts, and we went to exceptional lengths to blur them out. To even us knowing what the other products were, they became basically unrecognizable. And yeah, Mike, good point on ringing gauge blocks together. I could go grab gauge blocks, but they are ceramic blocks that are grounded or super smooth. And you can push them together and twist a little bit and they'll stick together. There'll be pieces of like marble or ceramic. They're not actually stuck together, but because the surface finishes are super smooth, they'll vacuum together when you ring them together. It's a cool trick that people that are in QC will do.
We have a question over on Rumble. Otter is asking, why is the footprint different on the cantilevered one-piece mounts by height?
Okay, so we have mid cantilever and full cantilever. What do I have? Okay, awesome. So this is a mid cantilever mount,
which is what
this is meant. Put it on my. Yeah. Oh, we fancy. All right. So in a mid cantilever mount, we're only moving the optic forward a little bit. This product is specifically meant for bolt gun applications with the new wave of really big optics. So again, this optic that doesn't exist, the distance on this thing from the erector housing to the ocular is quite long. So if you want to get appropriate eye relief behind this thing and you're using a rifle that only has your common pick section that's above the receiver, you can't run this with 2-piece rings.
Right.
You cannot do it. And
Well,
even with our standard,
you can, but now you're bridging a receiver onto the forend unless it's a monolithic build.
Yeah, but like with a bolt gun, if your receiver is the last pick section and then it's just barrel, you can run a rear ring only. And with our normal 1-piece mount, we brought the mounting shoes in a little bit to give you a little more space, but we needed more. So they're actually, between our low and high cantilevers, they are different products. Our low ones are what we see here, which is the mid cantilever. And then our high product is a traditional carbine style full cantilever. You need that extra height for the extra strength to make a mount that holds the way that we want it to. So with that extra height, we've got better supporting and bridging here. The 154 height is the common carbine height. That's what we've got. Now, I do know of people using this mid cantilever on carbines.
That's what I'm using. Perfect.
But the core kind of design brief on that mid cantilever or that lower height cantilever is we want to get as low as we can while still providing some cantilever for bolt gun applications. And then obviously you can use them on carbine applications if they make sense.
Yeah, and folks, again, that's one thing I should talk about too, or should have even talked about in the video. I tend to get a lot lower on my gun than I think most people do in general anyhow. I always need lower rings than the average person, I think. So
you've got those high statuesque cheekbones.
That's right. But yeah, I had 150 cantilever mount on there, and it was just a little too high for me. And I always felt like I was reaching for it, even with a cheek pad. And I just never, it worked, but it was making me work. And just like you guys, if you guys ever watched my rifle setup video, like you got to make that gun to where it's completely set up to your particular body type, to where it's not making you work to get in position.
If you guys could see all the product change out and swapping that goes on over here as Gary tries out and tests new things. I'm always looking around and like, wait a second. Man, you just got that
I don't want to do that.
Like,
I don't want to, but I have to. Well, it is what it is.
Yep, I know.
Another big section I'll jump into on the optic mounts, by the way, is something that's fairly new to us, is the 35 and 45 degree mounts, but broadly, all of the things we built into adding on to this. So when we get into optic mounts, these things, and you showed this in the video, the number of places we have here that we're putting attachment points here and this guy up at the top, rifle guys can get very picky about, I want it to be just this one way and all set up this certain way and it's got to look a certain way. And look, man, we get that. I totally understand. If you go buy a brand new pickup, you want it to be it's got to do the job, but you want it to be the right color and you want the right seats and you want the right, we get it. It all works the same way. And whatever your mission is, you want to do it with the greatest amount of effectiveness possible. And it's got to be comfortable to you. And there's no one size fits all solutions to that. So when we got into this, we looked at a couple different mounting situations. We've got our side style mounting points. This is what we call our match mount point. And on these carbine mounts, you get to the other side and they're just stinking everywhere. This is for what we'll call lower stress applications. So things that are not as heavy. This is a rescinded mount, or this is a 35 low RMR mount point. Or on one of these, I've got, on this guy, we got the spirit level hanging off the side. We've got small pick rail sections, all sorts of things we can attach to that point. And then, so that gives you a lot of versatility, but there's really a lot of sauce. And Gary, I don't know how deep you've gotten in this one with this mount point here, this top point. Do I have one that's taken?
I haven't. I actually, I had a whole section in the video where I was going over just different mounting points on the diving board, and I felt the video was getting too long. I actually took out several things for that, but yeah.
Those two tapered studs in series are, they create mount location and a mount style that we've sent these out to, and Vortex let me name them on this. Scott Parks at Vortex, they're making their new Impact 4000 at the time that we were doing our development on this mount system. We send him one and we say, look, man, we know you're doing diving board testing. You have to be. What do you think? And his response is, nothing tested better. And that comes down to things that are monolithic things that have all of these crazy wraparound contraptions where you add a ring and you flip things over and it's massive and heavy and complicated. We took basic design principles that exist behind us and that we've worked on through other products and thought, look, it's got to be in a straight line. They need to be in series. We want a taper that we can actually compression fit. When you tighten it down, you're squeezing into the tapers, and then you hit the big flat surface at the bottom that locks it down. Let's give that a shot and see what happens. And we made a handful of them. And occasionally you design something and go, man, I had high expectations, but that's cooler than I thought it'd be. And it was.
So what everyone doesn't know is I just saw the number one at the beginning of that video. I'm pulling out the diving board and I set down the instructions, and God only knows what I did with them after that. But as I'm getting done through the video, I grab the diving board. I'm like, and I just throw it together. I set it on there. I threw some Vibratite on the fasteners and I cranked them down to 45 inch-pounds. And then later on, I found the instructions. I'm like,
Craig is shaking his head.
I should have, I probably need to go back and reshoot that. So the point here is that I had to take the diving board off. And so after I took the fasteners out, because of those taper points, that doesn't come off easy once you even have the fasteners out of there. So I reshot the whole thing. But I almost gave you a call, Craig. I'm about to beat this.
I did the thing. What do I do?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have, and you noted this in the video, when you get into the top of this, one of these is captured with a hollow lock. The reason it's captured is it's a pusher. So if this thing's trapped down on there and you start unscrewing the screw that's inside there, that hollow lock, it'll force itself apart. So we built that in so that even if you get it stuck and you're not thinking about it, unless you've somehow taken the hollow lock out, don't do that. You have to push them apart. We know that it creates a mechanical bond that's really solid.
I see. So you just tighten down that hollow lock. It'll basically lift itself off.
No. So inside the hollow lock, there's a screw in here, and you noted it in your video that there was the one that's captured and then the one that's loose.
Yes.
The one that's captured, I don't have a tool on me, or I just do it for you. I'd show you here. But if I take this screw all the way out, and then I start, if I unscrew this, I will unscrew that until the whole diving board is in my hand.
Right.
Because it will push against that hollow lock and force it away, because a screw can tighten, but a screw can also push.
Yeah, like when I first I was like, what is this thing here for? I just pulled it out. I disassembled the whole thing. I screwed the whole thing up, which is why I reshot the whole thing. So it all worked out. Don't worry about that little guy.
It happens.
Absolutely. So I had one of the other things I thought was cool when I noticed after the video got shot, it turns out it was you because I asked you. We had some questions being asked that sometimes I got to them, sometimes I didn't on the video, but you were getting in there and you were answering those questions. Yeah. And I had one question here that I thought was interesting, and I think it's good food for thought. You answered it, and I think some people will think it's common sense, but it is what it is. So it says, love the match scope rings or mount. I do question how many recoil shots start to induce warping or some creep somewhere through time, notwithstanding the coefficient of thermal expansion of aluminum on a steel receiver. Moreover, a 2-pound scope with another pound or possibly heavier torque or 1 pound vortex impact 4,000 mounted on the diving board atop the front ring seems like a huge amount of force to cope with. And I have many concerns about ring distortion or something getting beaten serious. Steel would get thinner material, lower heel in ring, lower one-piece base, and stronger and better for that hunter, for keeping the optic low and coping with stress and heat from the sun in northern states of Australia. And why? Go back to that. So basically he was talking about the difference between the thermal expansion he was basically saying, hey, why aren't we making these out of steel? Because we have a receiver that is made out of steel, an action that's made out of steel, or the plate itself. So he's worried about some thermal expansion and the differences between it and the aluminum.
Optics, with virtually no exceptions, I think there might have been some old exceptions to this, but in the modern day, optics are all made out of aluminum.
Yes.
Your optic is also the most sensitive part of your rifle system. So I will die on the hill that your mount and your optic should be made of the same product.
Agreed.
As closely as possible. Because if thermal expansion starts happening here, I want my optic and its mount and its cradle to expand and contract at exactly the same rate. Because the number one job of the scope mount is to hold the optic solidly at a low stress setting. So if these are expanding and contract, like he's saying that steel won't expand and contract as much. But if the optic expands and the steel doesn't, we've got a problem.
Huge problem. Yeah.
Or if it gets cold and the optic shrinks and the steel doesn't, we have another problem. The idea that once the optic and the mount are mated, they are one item. There are actually major parts. When you go into Europe and look at the way they mount their hunting optics, they make optics that have a little mount built into the bottom, and they direct mount them onto the receiver. A lot of Europeans see us using scope rings and wonder what the hell the stupid Americans are doing, other than absolutely either dominating or saving their asses in world wars throughout history. Anyway, your mount and your optic need to be the same material because things do expand and contract. You do not want that happening right here at this junction between your sensitive item and something that you can control the mount. The other thing that happens, manufacturing these parts out of steel is extremely difficult and is either going to explode your price point or diminish your quality and your consistency. So I love when we made our zero reloading press, we were like, oh, you ought to make it out of steel. We could, and the price will grow enormously. So as much as we don't get really worked up about price sensitivity, if I can make a better product, nicer, and use a material that's more suited and less expensive to buy and machine, the whole thing, it's a no-brainer here. So I understand his argument.
People are willing to pay more, but the juice has to be worth the squeeze.
If it were better, and if it were better, we'd have a steel line. But there's nothing that steel does in an optic mount. If you look at what an optic mount really needs to do in the setting in which it is used, there's nothing that steel is going to do better here.
100%. Hank, what's going on? Happy Thanksgiving to you too. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody that has tuned in. What other questions we got for Craig?
Just so you guys know, Thanksgiving is Gary's absolute favorite meal of the year. He probably would divorce me if I didn't cook Thanksgiving dinner.
There's a couple times during non-Thanksgiving time that I've actually talked Summer into making a Thanksgiving meal.
Yes.
I'm going to go grab something out of another room, but I can still hear you, Gary. I want to know what's your favorite item on the table at Thanksgiving? And what is one well-known loved staple that is garbage and you think is overrated and does not make it to your table? Go.
Ooh, I got answers for both of those. All right.
What's your all-time favorite?
My all-time favorite.
It better be something I cook.
Is your dressing. You always do a great job on the turkey. I love the turkey too.
Key to that is brining your turkey, folks.
Something that's garbage, I will say, and a lot of people serve this, is canned cream corn. Absolute disgusting. Now, one of the things that you guys may not know this, and I didn't know this, right? Summer at one point when we first started, I don't think we were married yet, but she was like, I was like, we were talking about cream corn. I was like, cream corn's disgusting. I was like, I don't like it canned cream corn. I never had homemade cream corn. Summer
I don't think you even knew such a thing.
I figured it could be made at home, but I figured, anyways, Summer made homemade cream corn for me, and that stuff is next level. That is one of my favorite things. Two favorite things: cornbread dressing, hefty cornbread dressing, Summer's not stuffing, and homemade cream corn.
What's the one thing that's garbage that did you say that? Oh, the canned cream corn.
Canned cream corn.
Yeah, gotcha.
What about you, Craig?
What's your favorite?
I'm a big Thanksgiving guy. My birthday was yesterday, so
happy birthday.
Thank you. For me, Thanksgiving is always wrapped in with birthday, and now it's Black Friday, which is my favorite day of the year, but also my least favorite because holy cow, the stuff that's come up and like what you have to do to prep for it, as you understand.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanksgiving and I have a very special relationship. I'm a dessert guy, and I think that your fall holiday, like Thanksgiving is the best dessert holiday for me. I think Christmas gets overblown, gets too busy. So my wife made for me last night, and my wife's an unbelievable woman. When I met her, she could not scramble eggs in a microwave, and today she's all over it. She's incredible. She made, and my mom used to make it for me because my mother's birthday is the day before mine, so we were always Thanksgiving people. And she made a peaches and cream pie that was just unbelievable. And you got to be careful because peaches are good in the summer, but the peaches and cream really hits in the fall if you preserve the peaches the right way. If they're fresh frozen,
yeah,
turkey's fine.
What's that? Summer's from Georgia,
I'm from
so
Georgia,
she's a
so I
peach
love
connoisseur.
peaches. Yes.
Absolutely. I think the turkey's overblown. I can smoke a absolute banger of a turkey. I think we should, as a nation, get together and say, listen, this year, turkeys are out. Let's do brisket.
I always do
I'm
brisket
in on this.
dinner.
I thought we were going to
Yeah.
go right to bald eagle, and I was looking forward to that.
So when you come visit us, by the way, we have a bald eagle that at one point they had a nest behind the shop. So we're on 75 acres, and about half of that is covered by a lake.
Oh, wow.
And we're also right near the Maumee River, and lots of bald eagles in the area. So there's a Air National Guard base next to us. On almost any given day, you're getting to fly over from an F-16 and a bald eagle. I've never felt more free than the days that you catch them both out your office window at the same time. The thing that I really don't like, and again, I hope my wife watched the other part but doesn't watch this, canned cranberry sauce, get it out of here. Gone. Out. And people they put it on the table and you still see the ridges from the can.
Yes.
No. You want to make a great cranberry sauce and put oranges in it and really, if you want to make one, I'm going to eat the whole thing.
But there's like this whole like cult following of the cranberry sauce, and people are like, "Don't give me that homemade lumpy crap. They want the gelled cranberry flavored."
It's like coagulated.
Yeah, it just sits there. And
these are the same people that like fruit cakes that come in a box, and I don't trust a single one of them.
And canned cream corn.
Go do something else.
Those people
Get
don't
out
like
of here.
America or Jesus. I'll just tell you that right now.
All right, guys, I got a surprise for you. This doesn't exist and has not been released. This is a Q1 product for us. I don't think you saw this for Zach, but maybe you did. We've got, let me clear my sexy zoom in area here.
Clear your palate. Get ready, folks.
Oh, yeah. Prepare yourself, fellas. This is a new coming from us modular diving board mount system for carbines.
Oh, wow.
What you're seeing here is a short diving board and a long diving board. You've got, and this is obviously just pick section meant for the EOTech product. This is an aim point. And they are, again, this is all patent pending system too, just like the tapers on top of the mounts. They taper in here, they connect. What you see now is 4 parts. You will ultimately, when this is ready, have a system that's available to you that's more configurable than anything on the market. Because just like with our match mount points and tactical mount points on the magnified optic mounts, people want to configure their kit in all sorts of different ways. Mm-hmm. So what we're working through now that we've proven out this, we know that this works. It's okay. Now, how do we make a diving board that's better for this product? How do we make different heights to solve this problem? How do we make this to solve this problem? Ultimately, I think when this thing is mature, and we'll launch the product and then keep making parts for it with different options for different people, there will be conceivably hundreds of ways that you could set this thing up based on what specifically is your use case. We love modularity in this game. We love embracing the idea that your mission and my mission are different. And even if we had the same mission, our preferences and the way that we operate firearms would be different. We want to have optic mounts that really go cradle to grave for everybody. And this is carbines, this is hunt rings, this is match rings, this is tactical mounts, this is the cantilever product, all of the accessories. So for us, the next big kind of jump is a carbine focused red dot system. And that's a Q1 product for us.
A red dot mount system or an actual red dot optic?
We don't do electric.
Yeah, okay.
We will sell techs and aim points, and they're good at that. We're good at turning big pieces of metal into small pieces of metal.
I love it.
Nice.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, Craig actually sent me a picture of that yesterday or the day before. I don't remember what. And I totally geeked out on it. That is something I can't wait to get in my hands because that is slick. Because there are other companies that are making high mounts, and I talked to you a little bit about that. Technically, we're a dealer for a certain company, and man, I like where it puts your optic, but I have not been impressed with the quality of machining on the mount itself and how much it costs. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I like how it indexes the mount. I like where it puts it. I don't like the quality of the machining. I don't. It looks cheap. It looks like it was made in 1998, and that is what it is. So can't wait till you guys start putting those out. We will buy the Bazoozle.
The Bazoozles.
You'll have one to play with sooner rather than later.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice.
Awesome.
And hopefully you'll find something that you don't like or we don't change and you break something. And
I'm good at breaking.
You got our permission.
I'm good at breaking stuff. Devin DeWitt says, I guess I'm missing something here. What does that solve over just mounting the magnifier and a red dot to the gun? So what that solves, Devin, as you can see, it's my big head. Just like back here. All right. So when you're dealing with a SBR or a submachine gun where you need these types of mounts, you don't have the real estate for it.
Can I see?
Probably not. But exactly what he's showing right there. But right back there, there's a gun, and it has a 11.5. Has 11.5. All right. And if I was to put that PEC 15 where I have it, I would have no place to put my hand. And then you get into even smaller barrel guns. Upstairs, I got a 6-inch shorty up there. I got a couple other ones. Or if you're running sub guns that are running 5-6-inch barrels. So this solves that problem. It allows it to get it up off that. It allows you to, and that one's not that high, but obviously I'm sure you guys are going to be making higher versions of that.
Sure.
But the point is, and on top of that, the other big thing that solves, and Craig, you can add anything to this, is that it's putting all of that stress, everything onto the receiver as opposed to the forend. So we're not putting all these things on the forend because a lot of forends are pretty weak. Yeah,
and we're basically extending the forend here from a mechanical standpoint. So when you start putting, and what's on here right now, you've got visible lasers, you've got IR sighting lasers. This is a sighting device. This is an optic. And when you put that on an upper, and since we're streaming on YouTube, I won't grab it. I won't show the upper I have here because that'll get us bounced. Yep. On every carbine on the market, even the ones that have really exceptional lockup systems on how that handguard attaches to the upper to the upper receiver. When you get into a gun and you start applying stress and you start twisting and moving, they move. Yep. Handguards are thin material. And if you're if you're sweeping a room, but when you want to shoot something small and repeatedly and you start getting into distance and a little bit of deflection in that handguard starts being a problem, or you load into something or you get onto a bipod, the idea of having that optical system all in one piece on one constrained product that is rigid and it's all on your upper receiver, it is going to put more rounds on target, period, bottom line, full stop, than if you put that sighting laser on the end of your handguard and use it out there.
100%.
And this is something we do love, a dramatic test. We like showing these things to you guys, and we will absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, be doing that for you so you can see it in full scale. And we'll do it with nice ARs and we'll do it with shit boxes. I mean, we'll go the whole gamut because they all move. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, they all move. Not all handguards are created equal, and then not all mounting systems for that handguard to the receiver are created equally either. And even like you said, no matter how much, guys, I don't care how good that their system is for attaching the handguard to the barrel nut or to the receiver or all the other stuff. They've gotten a lot better at that. But when you have it mounted there and you have this long 12-inch, however long it is, and you basically have all this stress on there, you can move just like you can take a 26-inch barrel that's almost a straight contour. You can flex that barrel a little bit. Yep. It's just that solves that issue of getting things off that handguard. It is definitely the weakest point on the firearm. There's no doubt about it. This guy had a question that I don't have an answer to. Richie says, what are your thoughts on the 419 Maverick on the shortest configuration? I know the suppression is rated at plus 1 dB. It's not the best break, but many top PRS shooters use it. Haven't used it, Richie. We need to order one, get some testing in there. We do have some of the Thunder Beast RRs in. Those are pretty impressive, but I just haven't tested that.
Yeah,
so,
and it's a similar concept. And what we did with the Maverick, the Thunder Beast is a great product. Thunder Beast does awesome stuff. I love it and I own them. But ours is more meant for recoil management, and theirs is a little quieter. Theirs manages recoil, ours knocks down too. But ours is more on that kind of great. And the entire thought behind it is 1 decibel in all of our testing louder than a bare muzzle. But it is massively quieter than a muzzle brake. Massively. Like we're talking, I think if I'm just going to top of my head, the numbers, they were like 14 to 15 decibels. And when you're talking about the difference in 150 and like 165 decibels, that's earth shattering difference.
Yeah.
And what happens when you shoot with a muzzle brake is that sound pressure comes back. And if I brought an anvil into your studio and set it on the table and said, Gary and Summer, I'm going to hit this anvil with a hammer and I'm going to do it and you can expect it. I smack that thing with a hammer and everybody in the room is going to do that a little bit because that's how our brains work. It's how our minds work. And the same thing happens every time you touch off a muzzle brake. Some people are more or less sensitive to it. I found myself pretty sensitive to it. And in 2000, I shot more than a dozen 2-day matches around the country. I'm driving all over the place. I shoot Saturday feel really good. I wake up Sunday feeling like I'm absolutely hungover. And I was eating that blast from myself and the people around me. And we saw a lot of muzzle brakes, and they work really well. But in the volume that I was shooting, like we've got to get some of that down. So when we designed the Maverick, it needed to do nearly all the job their brake does in managing recoil, and it does quite a good job. But it needs to do it without beating my brain around inside my skull. And when you look at that blink effect that happens, if I hit that anvil on the table with a hammer, there's a short period of time that we all blink and our brains turn off, and then they turn back on. And when a bullet's flying down range and you're trying to track it, they move really quickly. So if you reduce the amount of time that your brain blinks, your opportunity to pick up that projectile as it moves down range, watch what's happening down range, watch it hit, watch it land, whatever it's going to do, is meaningfully improved. Precision Rifle Blog did an article, and they call out the Maverick, they talk about it, but really the two guys to get into are like Chad Heckler and Francis Blum. They do Miles to Matches. It's a good podcast. Those guys shoot a ton. They're excellent dudes and excellent shooters. And they're in the same boat. When the guy, I'm not going to name him because he's in the firearm business as well, a guy that has won a golden bullet in the PRS. He wins his golden bullet. I call him shortly thereafter because the Maverick's just on the market. I'm like, hey, man, he's an SOT. And I said, I'm going to send you this thing, and I want you to go out and I want you to train with it. And I promise you, the best shooter on the planet who just won the golden bullet, every time you pull the trigger, you're blinking. And he's like, first of all, you're an idiot. I just won the golden bullet, but send me one. I send it to him. He calls me back. He's okay. So I went out to the range and I shot through a 20-round training regimen that he has. And he said, I shot it with a break, and then I put your Maverick on, shot 20 more rounds, and you notice it's better. You don't think anything of it. And then I put my break back on, shot one round, and thought, damn it, he's right. And, it changed the way that guy does business. He ran one for a while. He's doing some other things now. But the idea that I sent one to a guy who was at that time the very best shooter on the planet and said, you're blinking when you pull the trigger. And he tested it and called me back and said, damn it, you're right. It affects all of us. Now, how much does it affect you? How much does it matter to you individually? I mean, we're all different. The idea of the Maverick was that.
No, I think not only does it affect us, I do think that potentially all the muzzle blasts that we all are eating, especially when you're on a firing line and you are off to someone's left or right that is using a brake, as well as a shooter. We just had somebody on not too long ago that she specializes in subconcussive trauma. And basically, it's not just these big concussions that a lot of special operations guys are having problems with, but just from eating door charges and shooting Berets. My God, we used to go out and shoot 500 rounds in the Beret. It's not good for you.
So that's what's wrong with you.
Among many other things.
Yeah. Big Army went out and a couple years ago patented something that they're calling the smuzzle, which is really quite similar. Now, it's all in one piece, like closed unit, but they understand that even at an infantry level, sending you out in small groups where you're stacked up and there's a muzzle next to you and shit starts lighting off and you lose. First of all, it's got long-term impacts, especially in that setting. And you can lose situational awareness really quickly.
100%.
And situational awareness, when you get to the top levels of precision shooting, that matters just as much as how you're pulling the trigger that day once you're really good. Where's the bullet going? How's it flying? What's the gun doing? So it's a situational awareness tool. That's why Thunder Beach, they roll out their RR line, which is very much, I think, and I'm not mad at them for it, make good products and do business, but it's very much a response to them saying, oh, there's some sauce to this. This is real. Now, they took an approach where they're a little more on the sound side and building a quiet can with a brake and building a really efficient recoil managing can with a brake are at odds with one another because a brake uses hot, fast escaping gases, redirects them for a benefit. And the hotter and faster the gas, the louder the rifle is. Yeah, it's a bending physics game, just like in optics. Ours is more recoil focused. They're doing a little better job with sound. But there's something that if you're a recoil sensitive person and you wake up the day after a match and you're out of it, or you go to bed that night and you're seeing stars a little different, check them out. Find somebody and shoot one, whether it's ours or theirs, it's good for you.
We'll put an order in for those tonight. I do think, guys, I really do. I think that we're going to look back in a couple of 10 years, 5 years, maybe more, and look back at all the muzzle blasts we ate and understand, just like 25 years ago, nobody used ear pro while they were out in the range, and how stupid that was. I think we're going to look at that the same way. I think the amount of subconcussion that we expose ourselves to is pretty crazy. And I think it does have, look, if it's having those immediate effects that we can all feel. Anybody that's shot a match, that have done a lot of shooting with a muzzle brake, the next day or even that night, you have a headache, you don't feel good. Look, I think it's doing damage. I think it can have a real cumulative effect. And I think anything that you can do to mitigate that is just a smart thing to do. So whether it's
you get a short-term benefit, it's easier to drive the gun, easier to watch the bullet fly, and a long-term benefit of you're eating a little bit less of that.
Yep, 100%. Not only that, you're also blowing all those muzzle brakes blow a lot of gas and fouling and lead and everything else back at you as well.
Just as a side note, we did get in, I know a lot of people have been calling, we did get a new shipment of suppressors, and all the stock on the website is current. So,
get after it, folks. Those don't last long.
Go buy them now.
Yeah.
Buy him in like a week when he's got Mavericks. Buy him when he gets Mavericks.
You need both. You need both.
Get them all. Get them all.
Buy them all.
This is
a
not
big
a
buy.
binary choice.
I'm trying to make things disappear here.
You got to make them go away.
There you go. Make them go away. Yep.
Yep. What other questions you guys got?
I just saw one hit the feed. A guy said, do a comparison between the Thunder Beast RR, the Maverick, and the Boss product. Somebody just did one on Facebook, and I think he's trying to put together a video. And it specifically between ours and Thunder Beast, I've got a relationship with them. We respect what we're doing, and we know that, as I predicted, ours does a little better on recoil, theirs does a little better on sound, because those two things from a physics standpoint are at odds with one another. When that guy tested, we did the best on recoil, they did the best on sound, and then Boss existed as well. I've met those guys too. They're making a good run of it. Support them, wish them the best as well. But yeah,
what is Boss Top Shot? I'll have to look that up.
I'll Google.
They're a smaller kind of upstart. They've been around for a couple of years, making a product that is of the same ilk of a Maverick or an RR.
Okay.
We rolled out the Maverick 5 years ago, and at this point, finally, you've got people that are also, they recognize what it is, and they're trying to move into that game as well. And we can be babies and cry foul and say they're copying us, or we're just going to keep making the best product we can. And shit, I hope they do well too. The nice thing about where we are is if we have one product that stops doing so well, we have a lot of products. We continue to stay diverse. We want to be around for a long time. We want to continue to innovate and be a going concern. So we continue to push down that road, and all the people that we compete with, we understand that the better they do, the better the market does, and the better the market does, the better we all do. No ill will toward any of them, even when they make a product that is quite similar.
Yeah, no, and that's look, in the training business, we saw this more so when we first got started. I think we've done a good job of separating ourselves to an extent. We don't see it as much. But look, in the training business, there's a lot of competition, and even in ranges and stuff like that. And there's 200 million gun owners in America. Like, we do not compete against each other. Like, this is one team, one fight. Now, if somebody's just blatantly ripping off your product, I think that's another thing altogether. But there's some companies that I'm well aware of that are they will sue you just for something that is.
They just want to put people out of business, so they don't
have
any competition.
They are trying to put people out of business.
We've gotten the letters.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, I can name off a company.
They're not founded.
That I guarantee you they try to sue you because they tried to sue Fat Boy, done a bunch of several companies out there. Anyways, so it's a shame that there are people out there that feel that way, that feel so
well. We've
insecure.
Experienced that in the training business as well, where people have just blatantly tried to put us out of business because they felt that they couldn't compete. So the best way that they could stay in business is to put us out of business.
It's not a zero-sum game. Go do a good job.
Yeah.
And training people, there are certain training people, and obviously I'm not telling you guys anything new, that'll come to you over and over and over. Mm-hmm. You then have your people that'll go to you and go to the next guy. And it's like they're collecting tokens of having gone to all the different trainings. Good. These are good things for everybody. And just because you might not get that guy back, who cares? Do a really great job so that most of your class comes back.
Yeah, but we have gotten those guys back that have gone to other, and they hey, we went to all these different places, and we realized how good it is here.
I love when they do that. I'm like, hey, man, go train with whoever. Because you know what? 99% of the time they come back to Gary, I didn't realize what we had here until I went and did X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, hey.
Credibility is absolutely built by somebody going and seeking the competition and realizing what else is out there. All about it.
100%. Yep. There's no way to compare and contrast. No way to know what you got. It's just as simple as that. What other questions? More titanium stuff coming.
Yeah, we rolled out the titanium Hellfire like a month ago, 6 weeks ago, around hunting season. Titanium is a product that we use when it makes sense. Some people will try to overuse titanium because they feel like it's Gucci, and it is. Titanium is sexy. You use it when you need to. It weighs more than aluminum, but it's stronger. So if you need it, use it. but it's also not as strong as steel. And depending on the part, why would we make something like it? We use it where it's applicable.
A lot harder to
And
machine.
we're not. It is. It sucks the machine, but that's why you charge more for it. And we don't discriminate against titanium. We just use the right products at the right time. We have certain steels that we really like using, but we never pigeonhole something into being a material specifically that we like. So more titanium stuff, probably at some point when it makes sense. I can't think of any. I don't have anything that's coming soon. Additionally, that's titanium. But those titanium Hellfires are now on the market.
Besides the mount that you just showed us for ARs, what else you got on the horizon?
A lot of stuff. I'll show you the mount again, though, if you want to see it. No, S-Series sizing dies. So those will probably release during December. So our M-Series sizing die, do I have one on me? Yeah, here's that pig. An M-Series sizing die. This has got a micrometer feature built in for your headspace adjustment. This thing's crazy. It's an unbelievable product. I think it has changed in ways people think about the setup process. That sounded really gross. But the S-Series die is a featured down version of it where we took the micrometer adjustability out of it and we're able to significantly reduce the footprint as well as the cost of the product. But that's something that you're going to start seeing in market in December. But I think that's the only one we've got big, fast, and in a hurry. There's always, like, the tripod head that you saw Zach with.
I didn't see. I don't
when
know.
that's ready, that's ready.
I don't think it was a tripod head. It was something on his gun. I think it was like one or two things on his gun. I just don't remember what it was. I was eating muzzle.
Could have been a clamp of some sort. It could have been a Hellfire titanium. It absolutely could have been.
No, I was saying I was eating muzzle blast all day.
So he can't remember.
I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, hey, listen, number one, Craig, thanks for coming on. What I want to do right now, number one is Thanksgiving. Number two, I appreciate Craig coming on and talking with us. This has been a lot of fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a giveaway, folks.
Oh Lord.
And we are going to give away your choice of Area 419 scope mount. Whether you want a cantilever, whatever diameter you want, we're going to give one of those away. So, Summer, get us a
random number generator. These are always fun.
And
100.
Yeah, we got 84. Yeah, we'll do 1 to 100. We got 84, and then we got whatever we got over on Rumble.
Yeah, we have quite a few over there.
Do 1 to 150.
Am I going to monitor the numbers on
yes.
Rumble as well?
Yeah,
okay.
We'll do it on Rumble.
All right.
All right, listen up, folks.
You guys are making me work hard.
It is now 8:22. I'm going to give you guys, hold on, we got 5 seconds. Starting at 123, you have 2 minutes. 1 to 100.
You mean
1 to 100?
Baby, you're looking at a time.
Oh yeah,
stream time.
Stream time. All right, it's 8:23. They were just matched up. It's 8:23. Between now and 8:25, 1 to 100, you get one
chance,
one guess only. And we're going to be
guess.
monitoring you. We will be watching you. If you're cheating, we're going to ban you from the chat.
All right, I'm generating.
She's generating. Of course, you'd say 69, John.
Someone always does.
Oh, look, they got 2 of them.
You're not. It takes 2, but you're not going to not have 69.
I know. People have been watching too much Bill and Ted's.
They're putting it out on Rumble too.
They always put out on Rumble.
Oh, geez. Now your brain's just going all the wrong ways.
Chad Kelly's mowing the yard as he listens. It's been dark here for 6 hours. Where is he mowing?
I know, right? Where is he at? Maybe he's in California. Maybe there's still a little bit of light.
I think he's in Oklahoma.
They don't have grass in Oklahoma.
I know. They have hay. He's mowing hay.
Nice.
He's mowing burrs. Yeah, headlights. There you go.
All right, folks, you got about 20 more seconds or so, and then we're going to call it. And then you're cut off. You're cut off. No, you cannot guess a number on each platform, Jason. It's one guess.
I like the gamer move, though.
Yeah, that's cool and all.
And we're good. We're stopping right there.
All right, I'm going to stop on.
All right.
So I saw one closer on here than on Rumble, so we need to go through.
Well, I don't know what the number is.
Oh, the number is.
Oh, well, hold on. Let's see what we got here.
That
one's pretty close.
Yep.
All right.
I think that's the closest I saw.
All right. We're looking at the other one right now. Mike, you got it. It was 32, but I want to just go through and make sure nobody else also picked 32. 23, that's pretty close. Pretty much the same. Anybody on
Mike
Rumble?
finally won.
Anybody on Rumble?
Nope. Nobody on Rumble got it.
Mike, you're the winner, buddy.
Yay! Yay!
We got your address. Don't you worry about
Craig,
it, buddy.
we have known Mike since we started Paramount, and he comes to courses all the time. He has been one of our
Awesome.
best customers, and we love Mike.
And for some
No
reason,
offense to anyone else out there.
Jason always wins these things, and poor Mike won a book.
Mike did win a book one day.
Mike won a book.
Hey, when Mike picks out his mount, let me know, and all the red dot plates and offsets and diving boards and that kind of stuff. I'm good for that too.
Oh, wow.
We'll get everybody
That's
taken care of.
Mike, you're getting freaking squared away, bro.
Yeah.
Only because your questions were good. If they were garbage,
Yeah, no.
but good questions. I
We
appreciate
did
it.
have good questions.
Well, he does work in the aerospace industry, so he should have good questions in that one. I'll just leave it at that. Listen, folks, number one, we always appreciate you guys coming on. Make sure you're doing all your purchasing at ParamountTactical.com for all your Area 419 needs. Make sure you go to ParamountTactical.com.
Buy
But
from you. But if they don't stock it,
if we don't have them in stock, let us know. We can get them in really quick. That way you can support two great companies. That's your opportunity
Absolutely.
there.
Yep. I have a
Absolutely.
quick announcement. Black Friday specials will be pushed out via newsletter. So make sure you're signed up or you won't know what's going on. So just make sure you're signed up for newsletter. We're going to have something pretty exciting that we can't spell out in the newsletter, but we'll allude to. So read carefully.
Read careful. Yeah, we're very
And
careful.
then I'll get a million emails and phone calls on Friday.
Yeah. Anyways, also, or come into the shop. We have some stuff there. Again, come talk to us. We got some great deals going on for Black Friday as well. So whatever you got, come see us. We always appreciate you guys tuning in on Wednesdays. What else? I feel like we got something else to announce.
Nothing
Nothing?
specific. Yeah.
Nothing. Oh, I shot an awesome video today. You guys are going to like it. It's going to be amazing. You guys are going to like that one. I finally quantified. I know the question is always asked. It was brought up on the last podcast about how much cant in a rifle actually matters. And does it matter? Does it not? I was able to quantify that today. Pretty interesting stuff. So anyways, get ready for that one. That was a good one. All right, folks, we're going to let you guys get out of here. We appreciate you tuning in. Again, make sure you're buying all your stuff for Christmas at ParamountTactical.com. We got some great videos coming up. And also I'll be releasing some good videos in the next few days. So get ready for that. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.